I think that hi Enrique.
Hi,
Hi
hello.
Enrique. Sorry, I'm just getting confused because I have to turn around from you all so that you can see me. So I think that it's Enrique's turn for his keynote speech, and this is the last one today, but last
Thank you.
but not least, of course. So let me just introduce the speaker, although I'm pretty sure that you all know him very well because he's part of our organizational team and the one we couldn't go without as well. As indeed without any of us. So Enrique Palafox from Mexico. I've already was introducing you several times during the day, Enrique, when you were asleep in the morning. But let me repeat that at the moment, Enrique is an independent researcher and also the person responsible for the very well thriving Dracula fan club in Mexico. And indeed, it's an international organization. So, a creative professional with a diverse journey spanning over 2 decades in design, media, and content creation. His path encompasses various areas from graphic design to transmedia storytelling, along with academic achievements, including a PhD in modern literature and a master's degree in communications. Palafox seamlessly blends his academic backgrounds with a deep passion for pop culture, especially in the realm of Dracula and its transmedia adaptation. We've seen several excellent presentations over the years already, so everyone believes that today. Recognized as a speaker and consultant both nationally and internationally, Palafox's expertise extends across domains such as visual communication, transmedia storytelling, and the global influence of art and design. Throughout his journey, Enrique's unique combination of knowledge and creative enthusiasm has contributed to dynamic creative landscape and academia. In addition to his academic pursuits, Dr. Palafox recently achieved a scientific milestone in the world of Dracula editions with the publication of the book of Dracula, the Mina Harker's transcription, just recently published, so it's of the press, very fresh. Get it when you can. This effort is the result of over 7 years of dedicated study of Bram Stoker and his work. Dr. Palafox aimed to preserve the essence and style of the original text while staying true to the author's vision. Through his deep knowledge of the work and experiences in transmedia storytelling, Dr. Palafox has offered readers an immersive way to experience his classic narrative by engaging them directly in the storytelling process. His academic background and passion for Bram Stoker's work have provided a unique perspective that benefits both the academic and creative communities. As a speaker and consultant, Enrique continues to make valuable contributions to visual communication, transmedia storytelling, and art and design on a global scale. And indeed, we are very happy to have him on our team. And the poster for this Congress and the previous one is made by Enrique as well. So over to you, Enrique, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you. You're so kind. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for this awesome party that we have each year talking about our passion, Dracula. So, can you see my keynote?
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
Thank you so much. So I want to start my presentation with this statement, because visual representation matters in our culture. It's very important, the visual representation. So one of the main focus of this edition and this presentation relies on this in this sentence. So I want to be very clear that one of the goals of the visual arts is to achieve representation, visual representation, because the stories of our culture matters to us all. So one of the stories that keeps motivated humanity is Dracula. Dracula as we all know, is this fantastic tale that was conceived by Bram Stoker and was first published in 1897 in the UK. But it is important to establish that it is a story that it doesn't held on a book. It tends to jump to other media, and it's important because the first media that Dracula vanquished was the literary one. So since the first publication, it has remained in continuous print since then, and in as we can see in this Congress, in different languages and in different mediums. So it is very important to establish that Stoker not only was the writer of Dracula, but he also pushed the transmedia jump of his story. Let's remind that he was very keen on technology on the time, and he was willing to take his story into other media. As Hans presented today, one of these mediatic jumps in the novel was the serialization in some newspapers around the world. And as Hans presented, it is not only important the story, but the visual representation. That is very important, no? To start establishing that Dracula has a huge visual representation that has been accompanied the character since the beginning. So if we look into the different covers that has been released over the time, we can start finding these clues, like the first representation of the castle, like the first representation of one of the characters, in this case the coachman, is Dracula dressed as the coachman. But we can have also the first illustrations of Count Dracula on a cover. It was in 1901. So if we look inside the different editions and the different covers, there's a visual narrative that accompanied the text of Bram Stoker. In 1916, we have the first detailed illustration of the Count, and it was very related with the story. But in 28, we have a departure from this sequence of images. We have the first illustration related with a mediatic character, in this case a theatrical character, because we need to understand that the character in theater, it was very well distinguished with the smoking, because it was a wardrobe that the magicians used to use over the stage in their presentation. So Dracula started to mold its visual representations with the mediatic manifestations of the narrative. And we have in 1931, at the same year, in the same moment, with the release of the Hollywood interpretation of Dracula, we have the first movie poster used as a cover. No, this is important because we have here a very clear transmedia process, dialogue between the narrative of the book and one of his manifestations, although the manifestation has nothing to do with the novel, or very few elements, because of the departure of adapting the novel. So this is very interesting because in 1931, Dracula by Bram Stoker started losing its own identity and began adopting the identity from the movies. As we can see in the back cover of the book, it was Bela Lugosi very well represented as Dracula, and in the inside of the edition we can see an illustration beside the title of the text. And we can establish very firmly that an image words more than 1,000 words. So it is very important to make it clear that in this moment, no, Dracula by Bram Stoker lost all his initiative to gain Terence in his jump to the visual narrative. It was very rapidly substituted with the image from the movies, and soon Bela Lugosi became Dracula. And in 47, we have the first edition with Bela Lugosi as a character, no, representation in the cover. So at this moment, a lot of manifestations in the same media, in the same cover, began to merge both narratives, from the visual narrative from the movies and the one from the novel. But definitely, the Draculas that were before the movies were suddenly fading, leaving us with only one Dracula in the popular image of the character. So it is very important to establish that the visual narrative has fostered this perception that in some way the Dracula in the book is the same one as the Dracula in the movies. And with a new edition that comes with along the book, normally this phenomenon repeats itself because of marketing. Of course, if you have a movie about Dracula, normally it will be merged with the book in order to sell more books. And we can see these examples in several different mediatic exposures of the character, no, and each and every one of the times repeats the same phenomenon. Even the greatest scholars of Dracula tend to do this. No, we can see in this edition by John Browning and David Scull, they use a Nosferatu figure, no, in order to merge the visual narrative of the character. But not only them. Last year we have here as a keynote speaker Leslie Nielsen, Klinger. Leslie Nielsen. I was thinking about the Dracula short that were presented a couple of hours ago. So Leslie Klinger has one of the seminal edition of Dracula, and we can see the similarities of the logo between his edition and the logo of Dracula by Bram Stoker. So this narrative, visual narrative, tend to merge itself with the book. So at this point, we can establish that there are so many different editions of Dracula that I can almost say that everyone has their own version of it, no? And if you go to any bookstore right now, you will find 4 or 3 different editions, no? But they are very well designed, and they trying to differentiate one of each other without having special attention to the text, but they rely on the design, on the visuals. That is important. So these editions that we can find all over the stores, on the books, or Amazon, or whatever you buy books, they rely on gimmicks, normally on gimmicks for achieving originality. Like this one, I really love this edition. It's a collector edition, and it is very clever because they use this gimmick of the lighting, no, this printing material that illuminates with in the night, and it's a cool gimmick for an edition, you know. But then again, it's a gimmick. So what in my several years of studying, I came out with the idea that I have to create my own edition. If anyone has been able to create their edition, it was time for me to do mine. So because of my professional background and my academic background, I needed to root my edition in Dracula by Bram Stoker. I cannot went the same road as the others did. So I had to establish my own path in order to have my own edition of Dracula. So this is the project background. As Magda told you about me, I'm a graphic designer, a conceptual strategist in Mexico, but I have a master's degree in communications regarding Dracula in the movies, and a PhD in modern literature about the transmedia and the expanding universe of Dracula and in these representations. So my expertise is in analyzing these jumps of the text and trying to figure out how to do it the most faithfully adaptations to several media platforms of the book. But I want to establish that in this research, it's a very complex research because it involves graphic design, it involves the notion of advertisement and communications, and it involves the notion of literature. So this is a work that I've been doing for several years, 7 years right now, and this is the result of those years. So the first thing that I start working with my creation about Dracula was to recreate the documents. As you are very well aware of my work, the first stage of it was to recreate each of the documents, by hand, trying to recreate the same processes of production of the materials. And I presented in the LA Art Show in 2018, and then the next stage was to digitalize all those documents and presented in a very realistic way, the most faithful way to represent and recreate each of the documents. So in a way, I was the first to adapt Dracula for a social media, because in my publication 7 years ago, I was editing and publishing Dracula in a serialized way in real time as the events unfolded. So this means that the events that happened in a very specific day, like this instance on September the 7th, it was published on September the 7th. So the people who follow my work has the sensation of being there in the precise moment of the occurrences happened. So I made all the as you are very well aware, I made all the representation, visual representation of the novel, and took photographs and do whatever I had to do to have create a visual identity for the novel. That was the first goal of it, to create a different identity from the movies and to create one by the novel itself. So I started working with several artists and by myself, creating this visual identity for the novel, very based in the descriptions of the character. And I'm continuing working with it and developing as tools get ready. I'm working right now in the descriptions with AI and creating these realistic characters of the of the novel. So it was very important for me to create a visual identity. Then to start adapting to popular products and consumer products, because that's the world we're living today. The cultural impact that any story has, it has to be reflected on cultural items, because normally in our culture we appreciate these subjects. So my work normally try to extend to other media, like toys, like stickers, or whatever media, like this a board game based on the novel. And my work has been in faithfully represented the novel into different medias. No, it doesn't matter if it's a product, it doesn't matter if it's a social media or whatever. So the next logic step in my investigation was to publish my own edition, but it has to be very close to my concept, and this concept I want to talk about this in this presentation. So my inspiration for this concept are two mediatic instances, of course. It has to be from the media. First of all, it was this amazing book. It is a joke of a book. It is called "All Work Makes Jack a Dull Boy," like you know this character from The Shining, no, Jack Torrance, that in the movies he is writing a novel, but in sometime in the movies, Wendy, his wife, has a look to his work, and it's a very psychotic work of typewriting. He repeats itself one time another, and someone very clever published this book, and it was a joke for me, but it was a very fun joke. So I acquired it, and it is so stupid because you have this book with the same repetition of what you see in the movies, and I was laughing about it because in a way I held in my hands the work of Jack Torrance, so it connected me with a character in so many ways that not of my books about the Shining connected me with the tale. So that was very amazing for me, the power of this transition. The other mediatic manifestation I had is the Blair Witch Project, this film that tells the story of three missing students, and that we get to find someone found the lost footage of these guys, and we get as an audience to see what happened to them. That is very important for me as a researcher for media, because in so many ways that breaks the fourth wall. You get immersed in the same narrative because you are part of the narrative by seeing this footage. So those are the antecedents for my edition. So I got realism as a concept. No, I developed realism as a concept. Try to make Dracula as real as possible, and that was very easy to do because Bram Stoker did the hard way. Bram Stoker didn't wrote about fantasies. Bram Stoker didn't wrote about things from another world or think about his imagination. He wrote about reality. He thought he wrote about things that he knew, no, the places he knew, people that he knew are very related with the character development, and of course the media. The media is very important. So realism was the first premise for my edition, because it has to be rooted on reality in the same ground of Bram Stoker. So as Dracula is an epistolary novel, it's very easily to be translated into documents, because they are documents. I mean, you are reading letters, you are reading newspapers, you're reading that kind of documents that can be very easily materialized. And I, as a graphic designer, it was a very huge opportunity and a huge challenge to reproduce each and every one of the documents. So I devoted myself in this obsession to create and recreate every detail in the most authentic version. And I established this project, which was the origin of the edition I'm presenting to you today, because this was the idea to reproduce all the documents in an edition. So I launched this Kickstarter campaign in order to gather the funds, and to reproduce all the funds and all the documents, and present it in a very unique way to the reader. So I was obsessed with this idea, because you need to understand that I came from the creative process, and also to be creating with Dracula for me is like a drug. You cannot stop. So fortunately, I didn't get the fundings, and this is important in the process, because I needed to step back and go back to the text, and look for answers. And this was very important, because first of all, I needed to take ownership of the mythos, and the first thing to do that was to translate the text. It took me 7 years. It was I have never embarked in a so long time-consuming effort, but it took me 7 years to translate it as faithful as I can to Spanish, because in Spanish there are a lot of edition in Spanish, but most of them are translated or copied from the original Spanish version, which was published in 1937. So many of the words are old, many of the words are not relatable with the text, and many of the words doesn't make sense at all, because the way Spanish has evolved, it doesn't make sense at all, and some of the names that the translators use in Spanish are clearly wrong. So I had to translate the entire text, and it took me 7 years to achieve this translation. It was complemented, of course, with my PhD studies. It was complemented with my knowledge of the novel, my knowledge of Bram, my knowledge of what he wanted to write. So it's a meticulous translation of the text. I can definitely assure you that it is the most close to the original one. So while translating, it was very important, because it was so meticulous. And while translating, I became aware of one fascinating theme that makes me turn down the road that I was pursuing in trying to reproduce all these documents, because almost at the end of the novel, in the morning, early morning of the 3rd of October, I found this, and this was very important for the project and in general, and for the edition I'm going to present it to you, because on the early morning of October the 3rd, we are telling by John Stewart that Count Dracula attacked them. It was the night that Renfield lost his life, by the attack of the Count. But then the count jumps into the hospital and make a mess in there. So in making that mess and trying to make things happen, he burned all the documents. He burned all the documents. He burned all the wax cylinders of the John Stewart diary. I mean, he burned it all. You know? And this is important, as we can see here. No, this changed everything in my concept, because at this moment it was unnecessarily to recreate each of the documents, because it doesn't make sense right now. They are burned, but in the end, a copy survived. No, in the safe, and that is a moment of brilliance in this researcher, because that opens a new possibilities, because I don't really need it to recreate all the documents. What I only needed to recreate was the copies that was very safe in the safe. No, so I want to be very clear about this. It doesn't make sense to recreate all the documents, because they were burned by the Count on October the 3rd in the early morning. So, all right, at this conclusion, but with this sense of, you have to really need to read the text in order to watch this element that I'm telling you, that it was the Count that burn it all. No, because I have read Dracula so many times in all my life, in English and Spanish, and it's a very subtle detail, only mentioned in the night of the 3rd of October. So it's very briefly mentioned. Everything was burned, so it makes no sense. And trying to doing that only implies that a lack of understanding of the text. So in order to be very precise, I need to go back, no, and take care of this new concept, because my goal was not to recreate all the documents, but the copies of the typewriting transcriptions that Mina did. So I give you the edition that I published already. This is the cover of it. As you can see, is very well represented in the Dracula culture. No, it has a lot of elements who represents Dracula without saying Dracula. No, first of all, I focused on the I love the Dax Stokes presentation, because for me Dracula is a satanic figure, and the best way to represent it is with an inverted crucifix. So that for me it's important to tell the audience which kind of edition is going to read. This is not a romantic character. This is a very satanic character, and he is the evil incarnation. But the other thing that I wanted to mention was the possibilities of working in two idioms at the same time. No, this is important, because this edition was simultaneously worked both in Spanish, both in English. So at this moment, it's the first edition that came out in both languages, no, simultaneously. And as you can see, if you pick one or pick the other, the only difference is the language. But I was as a graphic designer, my job was to try to recreate as meticulously as possible, no, the techniques of reproduction, the typography used, even as the texture of the paper, as you said. Normally, when you read Dracula, they don't use any texture. They use the real paper for texturing. But for my edition, it has been important to have the texture of the paper. So people has this feeling of breaking the fourth wall. So it was very important for me to have the details very, very well established, so the reader can feel the notion that he's reading the right documents. And in this case, you can see most of the book is typewritten, because it's the transcriptions of Mina Harker, but the details are important. You can see the textures of the paper are different, no, from the ones Mina used to work with, and the editor who put everything together are different. The textures, both the typography are distinct, and in this case we're talking about copies, and copies are not meant to be done with the regular ink, but duplicated ink. So I use those kind of details, trying to recreate as possible the notion of you're having the documents in your hands. So I had the privilege by Count with Hans Cornel de Roos to write this introduction. I was very honored that he took interest in my edition, and as you can see, both of them are practically the same. No, these are mirror one of each other. No, both in the length, because this translation is very related with the original one. So length and design are basically the same. And I put a visual narrative that accompanies this edition. Whenever the Count entered the place, something happened in your paper, like this one, who you can see the drop of the tears of Mina, because she was very sad, writing about the death of Lucy. So I took the liberty of putting some extra Easter eggs in order to be more related with the text, you know. So as you can see, whenever the Count entered the scene, no, the paper goes darker, no, it goes like molded, no, like very, like you don't want to be there, because of this feeling that you get. And as you can see, I was very meticulous about recreating the ink, no, of the reproductions, and to put this realistic thing in the novel. No, you can see when Mina is crying. No, when you can see when somebody drops blood. I mean, this is a liberty that I took. But this is the death of Renfield, for instance. No, it's very messy. It's the only messy and bloody thing in the narrative. So it has to came out with the copies at this moment. No, and of course, this is important. There are two different typewriters in the story, as it is very well established. In October the 30, you know, when Mina started the final journey into Transylvania, she was given a traveler's typewriting machine given by Quincy Morris, and I use a different typeface for that, so you can feel the difference between the one that was the original and this second using of the type machine. So as you can see, I was as faithful for the and as detailed for the representation as I could be. And I want to close my presentation today with what I consider is the impact and the significance to having the Mina Harker transcripts in this stage. So first of all, this edition for me is noteworthy because it's a different kind of edition. It is not only the text, but it's a visual narrative. No, you are having in your hands the real document, so you are interacting with the documents. And as you can say, it's very obvious when one typewriter is used and the other is changed, and that kind of things helps you in understand the text. It gives you more tools to understand the text, and it is more clearly written. This is the first, I want to be very clear, this is the first visualization of the documents transcribed by Mina Harker. No one has done this before, and I'm very proud of it because it's the conclusion of 7 years of my visual investigation. So with this edition, it's important to establish that the reader breaks the fourth wall. No, it become part of the narrative. No, as you as a spectator of the Blair Witch Project, you are part of the narrative. No, in this scenario, you are not only a reader, but you're a part of the narrative. It's an extension of the narrative of Bram Stoker. So this unique edition definitely is very faithful to the text. No, is by the book. No, and done by someone who actually loved the books and loved the reality of the book, and that is the way it has done. And it offers a fresh perspective and understanding of the text of Dracula. Definitely, I can tell you, I have never read Dracula this way before. No, I have read Dracula so many years, more than 100 times. No, I read it 4 or 5 times a year because of my work. So it's a huge amount of reading of Dracula. So I can establish that this is a very different feeling of the text, no, whenever you read the text in this edition. And finally, it's available in both Spanish and English. I don't have any recall of any other edition all over the world that has to be in both languages at the same time. Normally, it took time to be translated, but at this time, the edition was worked in parallel ways. So, in order to conclude, I want to tell that this edition definitely offers very distinctive features for the reader, and that's it. You can follow my work in my social media. I have a YouTube channel which I'll gather all the presentations in this Congress. You can search it like El Libro de Dracula, which is the Book of Dracula in Spanish. That's our site. We have also the store, which is called El Libro de Dracula, the Book of Dracula. It's on Etsy, and you can find all the documents published in real time each year in my blog, which is called The Book of Dracula. You can find it both in English and in Spanish in ellibrodedracula.com. So thank you very much. It was an honor to be here presenting this edition with you guys.
Thank you very much, Enrique. That was really good. Well, you've got the applause from the room as well, although I must say that it's already 9 p.m. and the students are gone, but we're still here and listening to you. Yay! So thank you very much for that. That was brilliant.
It has been a long day for you guys.
Yeah, well, and for everyone who's, although probably the morning shift is already gone to bed. So yes, Enrique, congratulations for the wonderful presentation. It's as always fantastically presented visually. but we didn't expect anything else. And I had the book not in my hands, but on my computer screen. And now that you've explained the whole process, it looks even more amazing. So thank you very much for doing that. I think it's brilliant, and that so many years went into such a wonderful product. It's really well, you're very devoted to it, and that's fantastic. Right, so I think that we have some time for questions, discussions, guys. And I'm looking at the camera. I have no idea what's happening behind me, but I believe that people on Teams maybe have something to say here. So over to you guys.
I have not actually a question. I just wanted to make an observation. It was excellent to see this work, Enrique, because we met each other in the first edition that you participated of Children of the Night. So it's the first time I see our presentation, and we can see the process that is taking. And I think you came to solutions for problems that you had that are incredible, and you developed products that are very interesting as well. So I just wanted to congratulate you and give you this feedback that it was very interesting to see this process of your research and how it came on together now with so many possibilities and so many results.
Thank you, dear jury. I didn't want to sound repetitive of myself, but as you well understand, and I appreciate it, it's a progress of a 7-year work, no, and this is the result. So thank you for noticing. Anyone else?
Miguel has his hands raised.
Miguel es de casa, es mexicano. Un fuerte abrazo, querido.
Oh, that's a Mexican guy.
A Mexican. Mexicans are taking the Congress, guys. Beware.
Well, we have lots of Brazilians here as well.
Okay, Miguel. You're muted. Oh, you have to unmute your
Yeah, okay.
microphone.
Thank you so much, Enrique. Obviously, your best background is a visual, no? You are working as the graphical designer and something like media in Dracula's things, and I know that you are working with support some more people who loves Dracula in Mexico. But my question is about the translation in Spanish, because we have, at least I identify more than one very best translation in this case. Some of them it's from Spain, more or less, and one is from Mexico. Which one do you prefer of this, and which one do you use as a background to work in this? Because I know that you are not a professional translation, and my concern is how was this work, because since my point of view about visual, it's perfect, it's nice, it's a good idea to see the documents like Mina typewriting. But my okay, but my point of view, it's what's the basement for your work in about the translation? Who work with you to do it?
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, and you are good to establish that there are so many different translations in Spanish. So why a new one? Why it was important to have a new one? There are definitely several good translations to Spanish. The first one I started working with 7 years ago, it was from Spain. I believe it's rewrite from the original one, which was used and published in 1937, if I don't recall it wrong. And normally the translations that we see in Spanish are, as you will establish, from Spain. and from Argentina, because both of them has a very huge publishing background. In Mexico, it's very sad that we don't have so many publishing companies that can bet to a original translation. So they normally recreate another translation and buy the rights of it. So in order to answer your question, the first thing to motivate myself to make a new translation was to have ownership of the text. I cannot use someone else text, so I needed, for copyright reasons, to translate it myself. As you well said, I am not a professional translator, but in this point of the technology that we are, I can tell you it is not longer necessary, as there are no longer necessary a lot of all the works in the human spectrum. So sorry about it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that he needed to leave us for a moment, but
I am
Yeah,
so
already
sorry.
he's-
I have nine dogs barking all over the place. So sorry about that.
we can't hear them now.
Sorry about that. Well, just a moment, please. Just a moment. I need to silence them.
Sorry,
So,
the message. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
don't worry.
until
Children of the night, what sound they make.
yeah, until he returned, and I want to share. I don't know if somebody else over there are from Mexico or from Spain or Argentina, but
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you two guys are the only ones.
Okay, but
Before you say what you want to say, let me because we had the conversation last year, and you were recommending the book that was written, and the Dracula book written in Mexico. I've read it, sir.
you read it. It's so nice. The travel to the eyes of the salt. You read it?
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yes, after the
And
conversation that we had last year. Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Very
that book is very important today because of the releasing of the last voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah, and finally, the translation you made in support to internet tools or something like this.
At the end, I use artificial intelligence in order to edit it, but I took like 5 years of translating. It was a very long process. I didn't do it everything at once. It was a long process of translated, but at the end, it was edited with AI. So I took advantage of the tool, and the most accurate thing that I can give you is working in parallel, both of them. So I was able to copy the essence of the text and translate it very accurately. So I didn't use a foundation for my translation. This is not a whitewashing of anything, whatever. This is a very original translation, and very related to the original, even in the type of the number of characters, as if you compare both of editions, they are the same pages, and it's very similar.
Okay, yeah, it was my question. Obviously, for me, the best translation it's made in Mexico.
Oh yeah, which one?
Yeah, this one. El Fondo de
I
Cultura
don't
Económica.
recognize the cover. Can you Okay. Thank you,
Bram
Miguel.
Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, it's a very old edition.
Uh-huh.
It's made for Conaculta.
Wow. Wow. Conaculta
Yeah.
is the
It's the
one income
best.
from the
And
government. Mhm.
obviously, Vicente Quirarte was
Oh, yeah.
involved in this
Yeah,
document.
definitely.
For that reason, I think that your document probably it's more to be more deeper, so more better if you take in contact with Vicente Quirarte or Manuel Núñez, who was the translator, to propose to make your work with that translation that was very, very close to the
Definitely.
test.
Definitely.
Probably it would increase the final result, no? Obviously, because the ID intelligence or something like that obviously always lost. The good thing is that you love the Bram Stoker work, and you put a lot of lovest to try to do the best. No,
Much.
it's yeah, I think so. But obviously, if are some good translation over there, it could be very interesting thing to propose some of them to use your idea in this project. No?
Definitely. Thank you for noticing, and definitely there are a lot of excellent works out there, and mine is only one of them all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my second one comment about the I think that's the very best for Spanish edition is this one.
Okay.
And it's because I when I saw your work, I remember something like this when Dracula it's appeared here. It's with a lot of graphical elements and the and in red and something like that, and I think, oh, okay, it's we only loves the lovers of Dracula. It's gonna be very happy to the work that you made, no, because it's totally different. It's nothing something like this one. It's the very best goal that you made. Probably we forget the translation, or if it's the same of the same. No, it's different, obviously, because you are trying to reproduce the work that Mina made. I don't know if it's easy to read, because obviously it's not easy to read a letters, no, because you made it like a letters. It's probably difficult that some to make a book, but it's good to see. It's nice.
I really like your point of view, Miguel, and definitely you're right. It's more complicated to read it in typewriting machine than in a Times New Roman type. Definitely. So you're correct, but the sensation of reading the originals, that's the achievement of this edition.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that it's a new toy for us. I hope so. You will make the possibility to it's only in electronic way.
Right now.
I hope so. You make something like I don't know,
physical edition.
I don't know. Yeah, physical edition. It would be better for us.
Definitely. I'm working on it, and you can count on it very soon.
Congratulations, and try to be close with that guys. Obviously, I know that Vicente Quirarte is a very rock star, and it's difficult to speak with him, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, and
you're welcome.
Thank you for being here, and as a Mexican.
Enrique, I believe that we have one comment from the room. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and oh, sorry. Right, I'll just come to the thing. Turn around. Enrique, just wanted to say, I mean, the courage you faced in actually putting that work together is amazing. And I take the whole point about the typewriting and the face changing the whole nature. it isn't a comment or a question as such. It's just that you reminded me of something I came across in the very earliest days of CD-ROMs. And I was at the University of East Anglia, was being taught by a chap called Alan Lloyd Smith, who was an American studies person who produced, I think, one of the first academic CD-ROMs on Arthur Miller's The Crucible, whereby you went through the text in real time, but there were click points at which you could draw down, documents about Salem witch trials, portraits of people involved, maps, and so on and so forth. And what had occurred to me was, in a sort of virtual edition, such as you're proposing, the ideal alternative would be to have in the background on a clickable thing, the crackly sound of those original non-obtainable phonograph rolls, where the heart-rending sound of Seward's words are coming out, because they were the destroyed documents, they were the backgrounds. You're absolutely right to concentrate on the material you've concentrated on. It just leaves me thinking about the stuff that you've never had the time to do. But in total, it's a brilliant achievement, absolutely brilliant achievement, our friend. I think I needed to say that to you, as someone who's edited Dracula myself, not in translation.
Thank you so much, and you're right. Definitely, this is a starting point, because in parallel, as a creative, normally I don't work in one direction. Normally, I work in parallel ways in different projects, and as you well said, this project has legs, and simultaneously, I'm trying to make this into audio, and have it in audio and in 3D form. And that will be amazing. So I'm working on it, and hopefully next year I can share with you guys the next stage of this investigation.
Thank you very much, Enrique. That was brilliant. So a round of applause for you. Let me just add that this book is the first one. First non-academic book that has been also published with the name Children of the Night in it. So I hope that this is just the beginning of what's going to be happening in the future.
And an invitation for all of the authors, to take in consideration the Children of the Night, to start publishing with us.
Yes, well, that's the long time hope and dream, and we'll be thinking about it, of course. Right. If there are no more questions, or is there a hand raised, or am I imagining thing on the screen?
Yeah, I believe.
That's a mouse. Sorry. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for a brilliant first day. We have 2 more to come. It was a very, very long day today, and it's going to be still several. But we had, you couldn't see it, but over the whole day we had. I think that we had about 100 students here coming and going for different sessions, but it was crowded, and I think that was worth to make this hybrid edition. Or even
I am so jealous about being there. Please enjoy.
Well, next year. We have a lot of plans, but for the time being, I think that we need to shut down and go away before they close us up here.
Wonderful.
And get some Dracula beer in town. So it's time. Thank you so much.
A nice one, and see you tomorrow, guys.
Bye-bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.